It is The Wave, 97.9 WHAV, and on the line with us is Stratton Lloyd from the Essex County Community Foundation. And Stratton, good morning to you, and I guess I hope you're enjoying Veterans Day up to this point.
Thank you so much for having me today. And yes, it's a great day of Veterans Day and such a beautiful day out there. And you got me a little nervous about my leaves. I've not gotten my leaves organized, so I need to work on that.
Well, let me tell you, I did rake once. I raked twice. I filled up 20 bags, and then we had that big windstorm the other day, and it blew the bags all over the street, and the leaves all came out, and then more leaves came down. So what's the sense?
Double the work.
Yeah, definitely double the work. Well, I'll tell you, there's lots of work when it comes to taking a look at the Internet, and the reason that we wanted to have you on today is I understand that it was the Essex County Community Foundation's body of work that is kind of being used in Haverhill to help, I guess, close the great digital divide. Is that right?
Well, that's our aspiration, and to see what we can do inch by inch. But I'm part of the Essex County Community Foundation, and the Community Foundation is sort of one of those assets in the community that isn't as well known. But we focus on the 34 towns and cities of Essex County, including all of the Merrimack Valley. And our sort of purpose of being is number one, to sort of promote and inspire philanthropy, and to be a vehicle for individuals who want to create small foundations or interest funds or have their own ability to sort of give money away in a charitable way, and we do that for about 240 funds. And then the other piece of work that we do is what we call our community leadership work, and this is where we tackle some of the biggest problems across the county. And with philanthropic money, both from our foundation as well as from other resources, we try to inspire collaboration, and then through that collaboration really tackle some of these big issues with what we call systemic solutions, or really getting to the systems issues that are impacting some of these issues, and really getting to the root cause of some of those challenges to have more of a long-term sort of population level change. And so we've been fortunate in doing that now, and a series of different efforts, one in economic development across the county, one in arts and culture and the creative economy, where we've done a lot of work in Haverhill and the Merrimack Valley recently. And then we also did a lot of work after the Columbia gas disaster in Lawrence, Andover, and North Andover, with the philanthropic relief for the residents, and then with the small business community. And we continue to do a lot of sort of systems building work and ecosystems building work for the small businesses in that community also. And so when COVID hit, we stepped back a little bit, and we got about 70 community leaders across the county together. These were mayors. State Rep Vargas was there. He was a great participant. Many nonprofit leaders, as well as sort of change makers and funders and others from across the county. And we went through sort of this design thinking and sort of brainstorming process to ask the question, what's going to happen after sort of COVID, and how can we reimagine the social sector? And we looked at some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, and some of the immediate things that we could go ahead and work on. And one of the resounding sort of areas of need and challenge was the digital divide, and what was found was that the digital divide, it's been there for a long time. People with less access to the internet and competency to use the internet, that's been around. But with COVID and all of us living in quarantine and isolation and things closed, it was really one of these inequities that really sort of shown across everything that we do and across all sectors. Whether you're in school, obviously, but also if you're a small business owner that needs to have digital commerce, or if you're an elderly that's living in a senior home and you can't connect with your family because of restrictions and et cetera. Or if you want to engage in telehealth as a form of medicine to see your primary care doctor or pediatrician or et cetera. So it's really something that permeated everything that we were doing. So we stepped back and did a study with Tufts to look at how are we doing as a county in the digital divide. And we literally went through and looked at every single town and city across the county to see how we were doing, and it was remarkable. What we found, was that nearly 60,000 households, or one in 5 households in Essex County lacked a basic computer or an internet connection. And so that was really the background of how we got here, and what we were looking about, sort of what we can do, how can we define the problem, build a conversation, and then really get going with the digital divide.
Wow, I know that in Haverhill anyway, that was one of the big issues when they decided to do the remote learning. Is they had to make sure some households had to actually have access to the internet and also have the computers to access the internet. But I didn't realize it was 60,000 households across Essex County, which is a pretty big county, but that seems like a lot.
That's a lot of folks, and Haverhill specifically, if you go to our site, ECCF.org, and you can see the whole digital divide study. So I definitely recommend people go to ECCF.org to see how their town, how their community is doing. One thing that we found is that it's impacting every community. There's challenges in every community. We can work regionally and collaboratively to solve some of these challenges, but it impacts everyone. An impact in Haverhill specifically, and we shared some of this data with your leadership as they were thinking about sort of how they tackle some of these issues, and as well as in the public schools. We were actually talking to the Haverhill Public Schools technology group yesterday on the phone about this, is that, like it does across the county, it really impacts lower income residents more substantially. It has a larger bent towards impacting Latino residents and seniors. And then I think one of the areas particular focus for Haverhill is the impact for children. And, in all those areas, low income, Latino, children, and seniors, Haverhill is below the county average. So that's a call to action for people to say, hey, how can we tackle this? How can we do better and provide better services to our constituents, across the digital divide? And when we talk about the digital divide, it's important to know that we're talking about a couple different layers of that. One is access, right? Like, do you actually have, broadband, cable, Wi-Fi access? Can you actually even get on the internet? The second is, do you have the equipment? So do you have a phone or a tablet or a computer to actually access that internet? But third, and these are sort of areas that people forget about, is that do you have the privacy and the space to actually access and use that equipment to do the work? And that's one thing we see a lot in children, as you talked about with students. If you're in a living situation or a home with multiple people using the internet, and it's hard to find that privacy to actually even engage in that way. And then the fourth area is really around sort of the digital literacy and the competency to even know how to navigate all of those tools and the internet, which is very complicated, particularly as a lot of the schools and others are ramping up new forms of software and access and et cetera, to actually be able to do that. So it's a multi-layered challenge, which requires multifaceted solutions to it, and hence why the systems approach, meaning bringing all the different players together to think about this challenge and work together, is so critical. Well,
we just had yesterday. Was it yesterday? It was, it was yesterday. I was talking with Javier Bristol from the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Haverhill, and they have their school area. The kids can go there who don't have access to the internet or need to get away from home to do their schoolwork. They have their computers there, and also at the YMCA, they do an education prod as well too for kids who need access to the computer. So we've uncovered all these problems. Have we uncovered any solutions yet?
That's a great question. And so, I love the examples that you're sharing from the YMCA, the school system, the Boys and Girls Club, because there's a lot of work going on to think about this, because it's impacting everybody, right? So we completed a study a couple weeks ago and released that to about 200 folks, which was terrific as a start. That's a starting place for this dialogue. Now what we're doing is we're going out and having those conversations like the people that you just mentioned, to really learn what is happening, what is happening on the ground, what's working well, what's not working, where are the gaps, and we're starting to create an inventory of all of the good work that's happening across all of these different sectors, from telehealth, education, elderly, small businesses, to find out what's happening, where are the gaps. And our goal is, in doing that sort of additional research, is to then form a strategy out of that work that can be looking at how can we amplify good work that's already happening, as well as how can we help fill in on some of those gaps that are critical, which might be like digital literacy as an example, or where can we find opportunities for collaboration or a regional approach that might be a more scalable or efficient way of solving the problem. And so with that strategy, we then aim to sort of, raise money, pool money, bring it together, and aspire to creating a digital equity initiative for the county that we can then sort of help deploy resources across the county to tackle some of those issues around access, equipment, privacy, and literacy that we're talking about. So we're in that period right now of gathering more on the ground, sort of market-driven information about what is happening in the county. And then we're going to sort of really sort of formalize that strategy in the new year, and then try to roll that out over the next 12 to 24 months to really move the needle in the digital divide across the county and help all those providers that you're talking about that are struggling to be responsive to this major challenge that they're facing. And so we will be raising money in that area, and we will be sort of, communicating that broader strategy. And we are seeking, ideas and thoughts on what is working in the county today. So I definitely recommend reaching out to us if you have sort of good ideas or thoughts of things that are working. We are trying to gather that. As a community foundation, we serve the community. What are the biggest needs? What are the challenges for the providers, municipalities, the change makers, and then how can we help them be successful? So that's really sort of our focus in what we're doing. But this is an area that we're heavily committed towards, and we really want to have a broad impact on over the next 12 to 24 months as we move forward. And so we've identified a ton of great solutions. The question is, how can we really help amplify, accelerate, and possibly scale some of those to benefit the whole county and all of the different communities.
So it's more than just having FiOS.
Yeah, that's a piece of it. Competition is good, right? Competition is good, but some of those bigger things take longer too, right? And so we want to promote those. But there's also a lot of sort of near-term wins that can happen too, like making community centers and school systems and other sort of communal areas, publicly accessible with sort of Wi-Fi enablement, So funding those types of things to, make it accessible, delivering devices to seniors and elderly and others, and educating them and training them on how to actually use those devices so that they can engage with their loved ones and their families. Enabling hospitals and healthcare institutions to be tech-enabled to be able to deliver telehealth, and likewise their clients and patients to be able to have the right tools and competencies to be able to engage with them on the telehealth. I mean, telehealth's great unless you don't have access to the internet, in which case it's no good, right? And food distribution and food delivery is great unless you don't have access to the internet to be able to purchase that, or access to a food distribution system that can deliver that to your home. Working remotely is great if you have a job that enables that. Selling products to your customers is great, but if they can't come in your store and buy them, how do you create a digital commerce or a digital platform to enable you to be able to make those products available, whether it's takeout or actual physical products, to your customers? So this is something that really we need to tackle, really during this COVID time and even after COVID. This is a challenge that all of our community needs to be doing a better job on. And as a community, we need to sort of step back and see this as something that can make all of us stronger as a community, and also see that we can really make a difference here in our small town, whether you're in Groveland or Middleton or Haverhill or Newburyport, or as a regional Merrimack Valley approach. You can really make an impact. It's very tangible, which is something I like about it. So you can really have an impact on it.
All right. It's to be continued. We're going to have to get you back on the air.
I'd love that, Wayne. And thank you so much for taking the time and giving us the opportunity to do that. And we love what you're doing. We love what WHAV is doing. And and it's a great resource for the community, and folks should continue to support you all also, because you're a great resource, particularly in this time when information is so critical.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hey, Stratton, we will, I'll line it up. We'll get you back on a few months down the road so we can follow up on what you were talking about today.
That's terrific. I think I need to get organized on my leaves now. That's the next project I got to figure out.
That's okay. Just put it in the computer. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that'll work. But I'll write that down in my paper and pen journal and make sure that I get in touch with you.
I look forward to it. I absolutely look forward to it.
Thank you so much, Stratton Lloyd, the Chief Operating Officer for Essex County Community Foundation, talking about the digital equity and all that stuff, all here on the WAVE 97.9 WHAV.